Thank you, Uncle Jack. So perfect. Thank you. Welcome everyone to Satsang. So good to have you all here. I say so good to be here, but where is here? So this is freedom. This is wholeness disguised as this moment. Now, to the mind and the me, it can come up with 50 things it doesn't like about this moment. But the dilemma for the me is this moment is all that ever is. Just this happening. And it's happening so fast and so fresh and so new and so vibrant that any stories we tell about it are just not true. And so the trap is the mind actually thinks it knows what this is. And that's the suffering. Because I know what this is, I know that there's something better. I don't know what that something better is, but I just know this isn't it. That's the me's mantra. And so it seeks and seeks and seeks. Round and round she goes. So it can hit everyone differently as to seeing the futility of seeking. Some of us, took me a long time. And in a way, no time, because time's an illusion. Time is not real. You cannot show me time. And notice that you can't show me the me either. So we can say the me is time. Time equals the me. So time doesn't have time for the timeless. Right? What's the time going to do with the timeless? It's useless. You can't do anything with the timeless. So it rejects the only thing that is in search of what isn't. Oh, I have a prop for you guys tonight. Look, I spared no expense. It's a napkin. It's a white napkin. Can everyone see the white napkin? It's actually a paper towel. I I introduced this. Don't worry, it's clean. I introduced this to Alice Monday on our private, and it was just spontaneously. I reached over and grabbed it because I was trying to convey the sense of this, because this is impossible to talk about because it's not in words. So we try. We do our best to point. But let's pretend that for a moment that this napkin represents freedom. This whole napkin is 100% freedom, is wholeness, it's completeness, it lacks nothing, total peace. So we'll just call it freedom, okay? But it's basically any word, you could call it anything. Jim Newman says you could call it dirty underwear. Anna Brown says you can call it polka dots. Hold on, let me let Diane in. So it's not about the words, it's about that it's freedom. Now, this is freedom, and watch it now, look at the napkin. Look at the shape. It's in a completely different shape than it was a moment ago. Still moving, look at that. Now let me ask you a question. Did freedom disappear?
No.
What about if I make it in this shape? How about now? Is it still freedom or is it changed? Do we lose freedom because the appearance shifted? Or look, it's still 100% freedom. No matter what shape its appearance, it's always freedom. And the mind gets fooled by the shape. And that's what happens with looking at your eyes at the world. You're deceived by your senses and you believe the shape and you forget about the freedom. So you think the freedom's not here because all your senses are trained to look at the way it looks. So that's why we say at Satsang, this is freedom as this, appearing as exactly this. This moment is all there is. There's nothing else but this moment. And this is the configuration of the napkin right now. But look, you can never, because as soon as I say it right now, boom, now there's new movement. So that the napkin goes like this. So it's constantly moving, but the freedom never goes anywhere. Now this is an intuitive recognition, something in you that registers or doesn't, that the freedom is already the case, you're already free, it's the illusion that you're not, that we come to Satsang to see through. What about seeking? Is seeking freedom? What do you guys think? You guys can unmute yourself and share. Jump in. Everyone's welcome to participate. All questions are welcomed.
Well, I have an issue that I'd like you to apply this to, if that's okay. My husband and I have different ways of, I need space, I need walls. I need, you know, like your apartment, it has nothing on the wall. And our place is more and more cluttered. We're here a lot and we can't seem to reach an agreement. And I mean, I know if I have freedom inside, then the outside shouldn't bother me, but it bothers me and it feels that it contributes to the, you know, the chaos within. And I feel calmer, you know, just doing the meditation and being here. And I guess it's not about solving the problem from the outside, but it feels like it's keeping me from my freedom, for example. It feels that way. And I can have more freedom if I'm in a place with a lot of space, light, and less clutter.
Right. So Joyce, uh, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm saying. As soon as the napkin shifted, you and your husband now, the appearances you guys have, it's cluttered and the Joyce character is not liking it.
What was the last thing you said?
The Joyce character doesn't like it. Now
Right.
look, freedom's gone, right? That's the story that Joyce is telling. But no, I have another. See, there's always freedom.
I like that one better.
Oh, because it's cleaner? Because it's, okay.
Other than this, no, I'm teasing.
No, but you're not. You're
I'm
not
not,
actually
right.
teasing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So just, that's great. So notice that the me has a particular image. We all do, Joyce. It's not personal. There's nothing personal. The me is an illusion for all. So there is no me. Remember, that's our starting point, which makes satsang so different than everywhere else in the world. We're starting from there's just what's happening and no one's doing it. That's always our starting position. And then we see how we climb into story, so to speak. And as soon as we do that, we've forgotten the freedom. So this is already freedom. And it could look like a cluttered apartment. It could be getting annoyed at your husband. That's still freedom. That's just a story. That's an overlay. Do you guys get it? The story is the mind's overlay. It's a thought story put on top of the freedom. And now all my attention is on the story. And what am I not even aware of?
So the overlay is the me, right? The overlay is the Joyce who thinks she needs blah, blah, blah.
Exactly, Joy. Exactly. It's the veil. It veils the freedom that's already present because the story gets your attention.
Yeah, we live in the story. That's we think is what's real is the story instead of what is.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely the me is the one who's upset, of course.
Yeah, but
I get that.
so,
Yeah.
so okay, but Joyce, so the message here at Satsang, which is super radical.
There's no me.
Yeah, but we take that seriously here. I mean, listen, I get it. But there really is no me.
I don't get it yet.
No one does. How could you get that? How
Yeah.
could you understand that there's no me? You couldn't. But there's something in you that can resonate. And the test I always say, test in quotes, is how does that resonate for you? And when I say there's no me, does that sound like good news or does that sound like bad news? Because if it sounds like bad news, then
No,
the
sounds
me.
like really good news. It's not something I experienced it when we meditated. No me.
Right, but what I'm saying is there's no me right now.
Right. I know.
Michael, let me throw something in there too, because Joyce brings up an interesting point I've been thinking about as well, which is where does practicality figure into this as far as the person? So as an example, like Joyce, it's actually a physical feeling where clutter physically affects the body. So here's my analogy I've used before, where if right out my window here, less than 3 feet away, if there's a jackhammer going on, it's going to give me a splitting headache and literally make me throw up and get sick.
Oh.
That's a real practical effect on Alan, right? And so it makes sense for me to go to a different place so Alan would feel better.
Sure.
And I see in Joyce's situation, it's not much different. I see it where it's like a jackhammer in her own way. There's actually a physiological effect, a stress and anxiety on her body.
Uh-huh.
I would feel that way too, Joyce, where the clutter at some point, as much as I want to disidentify with the self and the me and all that, the physical body is just being stressed out. So so I would understand, Joyce, in your case, where whether you have a me or don't have a me, you're going to feel potentially, it sounds like, stress. So I guess, Michael, how do you address it in that case? Because as much as we could say, Joyce, you're just in your story or in your me, the clutter doesn't really exist to awareness. I see that's where it gets tricky, because I feel like there are times when it just makes sense to address the part of us that is the me, that is in discomfort, not the suffering maybe that is more irrational stuff. Anyway, now I'll be quiet.
Yeah, no, thank you. This is, guys, this is as I always say, this is a working satsang. We only get a short time together each week, so you want to make the most of it. So yeah, fire away. You know, the more juicier the question, the more me sounding and solid, the more I'm up for the challenge. So let's take a look, right? So it's just an exploration. So Joyce, you don't need a me to not like clutter.
I see. Yeah.
When there's a bunch of people, there's like 5 or 6 people talking loudly outside right before satsang. So I just went over and shut the window. Now it's warm in here, but I want it quiet for satsang but there's no me here doing that. There's no Michael here taking credit. I just saw the body go over, close the window, and then come over here and start satsang. So you've never done anything.
That's what's really important. It's like we fall into the trap of saying like I went and shut the window or whatever like that. But it's not true. You know, the body did it or whatever, and we didn't do it. We're just aware of it.
Yeah. And there's a big difference. Because if I think I did it, see, the thing is, as long as the me is around, there's always going to be guilt.
Amen.
Right? Because, you know, God, I don't want to shut the window too loudly because then they'll think I'm mad at them. So I have to shut it I mean, it's endless. The guilt, if you want to suffer, the me has got that whole market cornered.
I have a question.
So what about Alan's question about just the practicality of it?
Yeah.
I mean, do you have anything to say about that?
Well, yeah. Maybe you'll find yourself cleaning up your apartment.
Yeah, well.
Can I just give an example of that
Yeah.
I experienced myself?
Yeah.
Because I used to live with the man that owns this house that I'm in here now, which I only rent a room from each week. And if I showed you the rest of the house, Joyce, you'd have a heart attack. Because it's so messy. I lived with him for I think 7 years. We're still good friends, as you can see. I'm still in the house, renting a room now and then. But when that long ago, I used to suffer the mess and I was cleaning up all the time. But it was a personal thing. And I can remember saying to him one day, when this house feels messy, I feel messy. And so I actually felt it. But I can tell you now, over that time, what I did was every time I saw the mess, I would locate that feeling that I had, which was a no to what was there. Mm-hmm. And I just sat with that over and over again because I was actually doing Scott's work with the living inquiries at that time. So it was a perfect way to watch it. But now I still don't like mess, but it doesn't affect me in the same way. I can see a mess and I can even leave it more. and it doesn't affect me personally anymore. And the funny thing is that I've ended up in a house with a flatmate who is so tidy, you wouldn't believe it. So it's like I got my dream. I didn't ask for that, but it's like, because I'm not worried about it so much anymore, I don't have to worry about it anymore. He's worse than me, so, which is perfect because I never have to clean up after him, and it's great.
And when you
But
said you were looking for it inside you, like what, can you be a little more?
well, there was a feeling of a no to the mess.
Right.
You know, you can feel it in the body. It's like, I don't like this, you know, that no. And it's a feeling that you can actually observe in your body.
Right. And the constriction. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'd sit with it and it would fall away and it'd become peaceful. And I could remember one day thinking I'd seen something that I thought, oh, I'm going to clean that up later. And I actually forgot about it until a day later. And I thought, yes, I'm winning. It's because it just didn't bother me anymore. So that's what happened over time. And I mean, it hasn't meant that I've become a slob, but it means that there's a lot more relaxation around that.
Yeah.
It doesn't depend on my surroundings. That sense of okayness is always there. What's out there doesn't mean I won't clean it up or do something, but it's not personal anymore, if that makes sense.
Totally. Thank you.
Yeah, but like that's really good, Diane. I think though, Joyce, like the jackhammer analogy, look, if your body moves you to say, I can't sit with it because it's too oppressive, like the jackhammer, like Diane found a way where she transmuted it, right? And it became part of her meditation and it was a positive. But what I'm saying is that you may find yourself where you can sit with it all day long. And if the jackhammer is still going on and I'm getting a splitting headache, like Michael said with the door, I can either say something to the people, go to a different room, or move out. And so with you may find Diane's advice is perfect, and that may really work, and that may be transmutation, and it may be a really good growth-oriented opportunity. But I would also throw it out there too as a reminder that you may also, like, don't be too hard on yourself, because you may find that it just comes down to a 30-second conversation, like, we have to figure this out because it's the jackhammer, right? I can't sit with it. It's too much. And maybe it's not too much, but I just would invite you to be open to that possibility as well.
Well, it's an ongoing conversation, but I guess for here, I was more interested in how to be with it in the practicality. First, thank you, Alan. I always appreciate your perspective because it's very practical, and I appreciate what you said as well, Diane. So I'm not asking you guys to solve it and tell me what, you know.
Yeah, and I didn't mean that you don't do anything either, because I mean,
exactly. I did. Yeah. No, I like your, that makes sense to me, and it feels like a good thing to do.
But then I wasn't resentful because I knew it was my problem. I'm the one who.
Right. Yeah. Thank you all.
So I want to.
Ron is shaking his head and.
Yeah.
Oh, no, okay.
Ron's got the third perspective.
I'll mute myself. Thank you.
All right. So I want to bring it back to there's just what's happening. Because until there's just what's happening, deeply lands. I mean, this is really, you can't explain it. But the resistance is there's still a belief that this somehow shouldn't be happening. So, and again, I have for years, every day, it's amazing how much jackhammering and street maintenance. I mean, we should really have a brand new road out there with all the work they've done. Like, I'm literally thinking, okay, they must be getting paid by the hour because these guys have been there for like 2-3 years every day. And you know what? That's what is. That is what is. The suffering is when I believe what is shouldn't be happening.
Yes, amen.
And it doesn't mean you have to like it, because not liking it can also arise. There's only what's arising in the moment. So if you're annoyed, that's what is. That's what's happening. It'll shift on its own. You don't have to do anything. Just notice that. And like Diane said, it doesn't mean you couldn't have a conversation with your husband. Or Alan said that you guys figure it out. That too could be what's happening. But it's not happening, and this is the part to underline from Satsang, it's not happening to anyone. There's no one inside that body. There is no me in the body. There's no little you in the body. The body has blood and bones, brain, heart, lungs, all this stuff, but there's no me in there. The me is an illusion. It's a credit taker. The me has never done anything, ever, for the entire history of recorded history. The me has done nothing. It has no power. Whatever grows the grass, whatever causes the rain, whatever causes your lungs to breathe, that is doing everything.
Some point, I can't remember when, you said something I wanted to just share because it supplements so powerfully what you said, but I don't remember when it was, but you said something about my awareness versus awareness, and that really shifted me. It helped so much because I was thinking, because you've been using the word boundlessness a lot too, which I also love. And when I meditate, I do a lot of thinking about entering boundlessness. And I took the same metaphor and I changed it because of you. And I said, boundlessness is already happening, right? Like freedom is already happening. And I realized that me trying to get into boundlessness, it's the seeking, right? And
Yes.
so I just wanted to, on top of what you were just saying, I thought it was really appropriate that for anybody out there that might help, it really was a big help when I went from my awareness or my awarenessing to just taking out the my. Anyway, I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Thank you, Alan. Yeah, freedom is so free that it doesn't own anything. It already is everything. So everything is it. So the mess is it, is freedom. The sense of a me is freedom disguised as the sense of a me. And somehow just hearing these words can relax that tension, because the me is always doing this. This is the gesture of the me, constantly trying to get and trying to push away what it doesn't want. So it's constantly on edge, trying to do it right. See, the me thinks that freedom is supposed to look a certain way. Specifically, the way it imagines it should look. Hey, Uncle Jack. I saw that. You can't hide that from me. He held his napkin up. So again, just to review, everything's freedom disguised as whatever shape or appearance this moment takes. It doesn't matter. And freedom can also appear as anything. So it can be sadness, it can be depression, it can be fear. That's all allowed because you're so free that you're free to be afraid.
Yeah, thank you, Michael, because I've recently had surgery on my mouth. It's all swollen, whatever. And I have this voice in my head that says, you should be handling this really well. You should be smiling through the procedure. You should not be complaining to anybody about how miserable you feel. But then I think that that's okay. I think I can. I think I can complain and get a bit of sympathy. I think that's all part of the deal. I don't have to be the perfect sufferer.
Ron, come on, Ron, jump in here. Yeah, Ron's, he's in your club, Faith. So it's no picnic. We're not minimizing the pain. Pain is pain, and it's brutal. It can be very intense. But if there's a me there, there's a story that goes along with the pain that says it shouldn't be happening, that it should be different. It is as it is, but it's not happening to anyone. It's just pain arising in the moment. So,
Michael,
go ahead, Ron.
you said to me something very good the other day. You said the pain is real, the story is not.
Well,
And that was very freeing because, I mean, I can't say, oh, I don't need the pain, forget about the pain. I'm like, no, I can't, it's there.
Yeah.
But the story of it shouldn't be, or I'm going to do this to get rid of it, or this person should be nice to me because of it, or whatever. It's just a story. It's past and future. It's the only thing it's real is pain. Just thought I.
Thank you. Thanks, Ron. That was great. Did that make sense, Faith?
Well, for me, it's not so much the pain, but it's I'm wanting to get some sympathy from other people. I feel guilty for not managing my pain better than I do, and so I feel like I want to complain to somebody and get some sympathy. But if I don't do that, if I don't complain, and that's when I think I'm doing the perfect thing, by not complaining and by suffering. So I would think freedom means it is what it is. If I'm complaining to somebody and wanting sympathy, well, that's
Yes.
what's
Yes.
happening.
Exactly. And it doesn't mean the freedom has gone anywhere. So if it's this shape, it's complaining. If it's this shape, it's being stoic. It doesn't matter because the freedom is still here. It didn't go anywhere. That's the part that's got to sink in.
Yeah. Yeah.
We think we're so important that the me is so arrogant that it just thinks when I'm doing it right, I'm freedom. And when I complain and bitch and want sympathy, I screwed up. So freedom has left the building. How arrogant the me is. That the whole, that's why it was kind of funny to me when I do you guys remember The World Revolves Around Me? And I had the me and the planet. Well, a lot of people I don't think got the joke. A lot of people thought I was serious. They thought I was saying it really is about the me. My attempt to take it over the top to show that the me is a filter. The me is a filter and it's not doing you any favors. because it's taking in all these information and then deciding on which is good and which is bad. But freedom is everything, Faith. It's all of it. There's nothing excluded. See, we can drop the guard. That's the good news. We don't need the guy at the front of the mind going this, that, and the other, because if it's all freedom, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go to find freedom if everything is freedom?
So Michael, Faith
Hi,
should
Stu.
have freedom to get sympathy or to discuss her pain. I'm sorry for you, Faith. I had procedure done too in my teeth. So I'm sorry you have the pain. But the me is if she says, I shouldn't seek sympathy, or I should behave this way, or I should behave that way. That's the story, and that's not the freedom. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, good, Stu. The freedom is already the case. See, the me has this amazing idea that it's going to make the freedom happen. Can you believe it? Right? The me thinks it's so powerful that it's somehow going to merge with this thing called the infinite. That's all story. That's never going to happen.
Isn't the me, I mean, like with Faith, and she wants some empathy or sympathy for her pain. I relate. My husband and I give that to each other. Is it the me who's looking for love? I mean, it's a form of wanting love. So who's looking for love? Is the me looking for love, or is the love there and the me's trying to get the love? Or
Yeah, because the me doesn't believe this is love.
Yeah, the pain and not feeling comfortable asking for some sympathy and being able to complain feels like there's no love there.
Yeah, because the me lives in a world of conditionality. You do for me and I'll do for you. So if I do something for good, you should reciprocate. But this love is unconditional. The love that you are, Joyce, doesn't depend on anything the body says or does. It's already a done deal.
So you can complain all you want.
Sure.
We love you.
Not just, yeah, you could complain all you want.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, if you see what's being pointed here, your heart won't be in it.
Your heart won't be in complaining?
Your heart won't be in it if you see that freedom is always the case, whether there's pain here or not. And there can be what can arise, Joyce, is there can be a preference for there not to be pain. That too can arise. That's just what's happening. Then that's what is. See, there's only what's happening. Every moment is new and fresh. See, the me carries a narrative from the past. It carries all the memories and it tries to lug them into this moment and it pollutes the moment.
That's very, very, very important.
You're not a narrative. You've never been, and I know this is shocking, because like you, my whole life, I believed I was a good, Michael trying to be a good little boy. And it never worked. I could never get life to work. I completely failed at life. I gave up. And that's what Diane and I talk about, is just turning it all over. You're not qualified to do life.
I understood it as surrender.
Yeah.
Really giving up, just really surrendering.
Yeah. But you're surrendering to what was always doing life. Like, think back to when you were born as a baby. When you came out of mom, you had no ability to determine what was going to happen next, whether you lived or died. None. That was life taking care of you. And the me assumes at some point that life handed it off to you.
We usually have parents or someone around trying to convince us of that.
It's everything. It's society, it's schooling, the dream conditions all new, bodies that show up fall right into this. I mean, it just seems like it's part of the course. But depending on how much suffering, and that's why I say every satsang that, the best thing you could do is wish somebody much suffering. That's the kindest thing you could do, is say much suffering. Because if you're only suffering a little, you're going to still think you can get your me to work.
Oh boy, I do know suffering. It's horrendous.
Yeah, Diane, can you say a few words about surrender or giving up?
Yeah, it's got a little bit to do with what we talked about, control, because I thought, if I could control my environment, and that was part of the messiness thing, if I could control everything, I'd be okay. But it just got to a point where I couldn't control relationships, people leaving, people dying, all of that sort of thing. And it was just so painful that I gave up. I thought, I can't do this anymore. I can't try anymore. So I did give up. But I see people every day in the middle of that suffering because they think that they can control, look, even just I had a client crying about her children, that I have to protect them. I said, what do you have to protect them from? Something might happen to them. I said, has anything happened to them yet? No, nothing's ever happened to them yet. But so it's a future thing about what could happen to them. And where does that come from? It comes from the news and, things you hear. Just because it happens somewhere doesn't mean it's going to happen here. But she was distraught. And that's suffering. It's like, and it was hard for her to even imagine letting go and just letting life be and letting those children live their lives. In fact, she was probably causing them to be fearful too, because she was so over the top with them, trying to protect them from what? I don't know. So it's not an easy thing to do, I must say, though. It's like, I don't know where you have to be for that to happen for everyone. I mean, and I see people that don't have to go through that much suffering. And I think I felt that that's not fair, but because I see young people, in their 20s when I've been on retreats, and I think, well, they haven't suffered much, but they just have that, they've got a different timeline. They're not thinking about boyfriends or getting married or having children. They're just devoted to this, and that's fantastic. So that's just grace. But for me, it happened through a lot of suffering. Especially, people leaving and death. My grandson died when he was 16. Now that wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. That's what is. And my daughter suffered greatly because she just thought he's never going to get married, he's never going to get divorced, he's never going to drive a car, he's never going to do all this stuff. But for me, he obviously wasn't meant to be here past that time. And I didn't say that to her because she would have been really upset. But in myself, I just dealt with the grief, and I didn't assume that he should be here for longer than that. It's just an assumption of how life should be. It's just not. It's however it is. Mm-hmm. And it was the freest thing to just give up. And it proved to me that you do not have to think much and you don't have to do anything, because it's so much better and so much more relaxed. And so many much better things have happened that I wouldn't have even thought of if I was the controller, if I thought I was the controller of all this. It's just whatever happens. Like today, I wasn't meant to be here because I had clients booked in that wanted to come and had to come because they couldn't come any other time. And I told Michael I wouldn't be here unless the client cancelled. And guess what? I'm meant to be here because they cancelled. So, and I'm okay with all of it. If I had to be here or if I didn't have to be here, it's all okay. I just think, yeah, let's see what happens. ready for whatever happens.
Yeah, and Diane, you brought up a good point. I'm really glad that you were able to join us this evening, because last satsang, you brought up something that I don't really hear talked about a whole lot. That's why it caught my attention. You had said last week about the people you worked with. We were talking about the fear of the me dissolving, and you made the astute observation in working with people that the amount of control the person feels they have is in direct proportion to their fear of dissolving. That the more control you imagine you have, the greater the fear of not being appears.
Yeah, I don't know what it takes to get to a point where you can trust yourself to let go. There's obviously no trust in the world if you feel like you have to control everything. And for me, it was control in some areas, but maybe not in others. And I don't know whether that has to do with the temperament of the personality. But everyone can see that in themselves every day, is how much am I controlling my environment? And that's what I did with the cleaning up. I could see that if you can't control something, you have that reflex action of a no to what is. And that's why I just sat with the feeling, because that's the no to what is coming up in you with anything. And it's just interesting to observe that in yourself every day. It could be, you know, you're driving in the traffic and someone cuts in front of you, and there's a no to that, and you can feel that tension arise. Or, you know, you might say something like, you know, you idiot. And I still hear myself sometimes saying that, and then I crack up laughing because it just comes out. But underneath it all, it's just a joke.
Yeah.
So I don't think we need to, I think one of the important things you brought up today is that consciousness, freedom is everything. There's no particular way that it should be. And I think we get stuck in thinking that when you're there, that you're going to be a certain way. Not much changed in, you know, my job didn't change. My preferences really didn't change. It's just that I'm not identified with them anymore. That's the only thing that changed. I'm looking from a different place rather than from a me that has to have things the way I think they should be. So I didn't sort of, you know, move somewhere else and live in an ashram. I thought I probably should, but that hasn't happened. So, yeah. So don't expect it to be any much different than it is now. It's just that there's a knowing there, and it's so hard to explain. Michael explains it so much better in words than I ever can. I just have that knowing, but he explains it so much better.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to me.
Thanks. No, thank you for sharing. Let's see if I owe Ron $10 million. I said when we said goodbye after our private, Ron, I said, you said you were going to look for your me, because you said Fred Davis and I said the same thing. There's no Ron. So I said, you got to really look for it, though, as if your life, and then I put it in your words. I said, well, if you find it, you get 10 million. So any luck?
I put it in the mail to you.
No, but you were not successful. I mean, when it clicks that there's nothing in your body, and we're not discounting, it feels like a me. I'm not disputing. It does feel like a me. That's part of the magic trick. It's supposed to. It wouldn't. What kind of magic trick would it be if you just came in and 2 seconds later you went, oh, none of this is real? Be kind of a short magic show. So the fun, the play of Leela, the cosmic joke, is that every seeming individual gets the joke at their own time. When the fruit is ripe, only then does the fruit fall from the tree. And the fruit can't make itself fall. It happens when it happens.
Can I just add something to what I was talking about before? And this happens with clients, is just because you have a reaction to something, like, and there's the story about it, if you identify with the story and the feeling, that's what you call I. That's what we think our I is, but it isn't a person. It's just a reaction. And so we're identifying ourselves with that reaction and saying that that's who I am. Like, I don't like this, but there's just a story and there's a feeling. That's not you.
That's the key.
Yeah. And that's why when I was doing that work, and I just was feel the feeling, because I was watching the feeling, which is not me. So I didn't have to identify with it, and it would fall away. And each time it fell away, it got less and less after a while. So there's magic happening in just that looking. I mean, Eckhart talks about that all the time. It's observing that no or that reaction, and it transmutes that energy into nothing after a while. And that's exactly what happened. So if you just can remember that whatever that reaction is, it's not me. I'm the one perceiving the reaction. So it isn't me. So it sort of proves itself after a while.
Well, I'd like to even add that when we say we have feelings, we don't. We just are aware of the feelings.
Yes.
We don't have feelings.
Thank you, Stephen. Yeah, that's right. That's another aspect of being a me. If there's a me here, then they're my feelings. The me is an owner. My thoughts, my suffering.
My body.
Me, me, me. But enough about me. You talk about me for a while. That's every me's mantra. And so as Muji says, there's one planet, but 8 billion different worlds.
I like that.
Because everybody's walking around with their own world, their own private world that has nothing to do with reality.
It's just their story that they believe is the reality.
Yeah. And so you've never had a narrative. You're not in the narrative. That story, look now, look in this moment. Where's your life story that you think of as you in your whole narrative? It doesn't exist in this moment unless you go to memory. Wow, the time just flew by. Any last comments or questions before
Wow.
who would, yeah, anybody like to share?
Well, I just share. It's just so good to come back to people who are having that same sense, okay, that we don't exist, because in the rest of the world, including with a woman that I live with, it's just, it does not make sense. It's so wonderful. Thank you for all being here. And I feel very grateful to being able to have this experience. And thank you for Michael for doing this each week.
Thank you. And actually, Diane and I were saying the same thing. We were messaging each other, and she was saying, oh, I won't be able to be here. And I said, oh, well, I wanted to talk about your observation about control and fear go together. And I said, maybe we'll do it the following week. And then last minute, she said, oh, Michael, I had a cancellation, I can come. So imagine, right, this is like a good little mini, if I was bummed that Diane couldn't come and I had suffered, oh, I really liked her, I wish she had come, and then last minute she came, what would all of that suffering had done for me? Nothing. So that's why you realize the futility of hoping. Hope is for the me. Freedom doesn't need hope.
Yeah, I'm very grateful for these meetings every week. And I just want to make the comment how cute it is, I don't know, cute something, that like, it was almost like the silence after you've spoken, Michael, that silent pause where we all maybe are digesting what you've said. It's so powerful and potent. It's like you say your bit, and then we don't have somebody else chiming in, and then somebody else. I mean, we do a bit of that, but there's a lot of you saying what's true, and then us just sitting. And I don't have that in other Zoom calls. It's a continual continual conversation. But it's very, yeah, I love that we can all sit and let it sink in. And the silence is as powerful, almost as powerful as the words. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, thank you so much, Faith. I would say that the silence is actually more powerful than the words.
Okay. Yeah.
Because that's where words emanate from.
Yeah.
Let me call you.
Everything comes from silence, appears, does a dance, and then returns back to the silence.
Yeah.
I want to thank everybody for coming. I appreciate those of you who sent donations. Thank you so much. It's greatly appreciated. I'll do my best to get this up on YouTube in the next 24 hours or so. As you know, I'm always available. If anybody wants privates, just email me. If you have questions about anything. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thanks,
You
Mike.
too.